Biden administration weakened the United States standing on the global stage to the point where they thought Trump was going to do. And I've been watching this with a giant smile on my face. This has been hilarious to me, people watching RBN, because everything they said Trump would do, all his incompetence of weakening the United States standing on the global stage, how he going to alienate allies. You had the Biden administration, United States, alienating Brazil, by far the largest country in South America. They alienated India as well, who tell them to screw off. You had Saudi Arabia, as Jimmy Dore was playing earlier before. And in order to hide the fact that the West is taking this massive L, that the financial war against Russia was a giant miscalculation, that they're losing the war in Ukraine. These things are becoming undeniable. You're starting to see the rise of fascism. This is going to be the theme of this segment, because we're going to cover this internationally and we're going to cover this domestically, because I cover foreign policy, because the fascism we see internationally always comes back home. We're seeing that with Cop City. We're going to get to that here very soon. So we're going to see the fascism that they're engaging on an international level, and have been for years. You know, I wonder how many liberals don't understand that Julian Assange is not American. Julian Assange is Australian. Like, the United States is so unhinged. We took journalists from other countries and locked them up for exposing U.S. war crimes. And they was like, this is the warm-up. That was just the warm-up. And there's a few stories just back-to-back recently showing the emerging fascism that Jimmy was warning you about, what RBN was warning you about, what Max Blumenthal, you see here, was warning about for some time. You have Gonzalo Lira. And I know him as someone who spoke up against the Ukrainian war. We don't agree on everything, but for goddamn sure we agree on the Ukraine war. That's something that he nailed consistently. And I actually saw this, I'm a little bit late on this story. Like, I saw this like maybe a day or two ago, and I was like, what the fuck? So I want Jimmy and CJ, I want you guys to respond to this, because we have two instances of this. You have the U.S. citizen Gonzalo Lira faces long prison term for questioning the Ukrainian government narrative of its war for speech crime. He has been disappeared, possibly tortured, and the State Department refuses to acknowledge him. But this is the country that we are saying is fighting for democracy. The country that banned opposition parties, that banned the Russian language and torturing people that speaking out against them. Last one, I'll get you guys' thoughts on this, because this shows you have the Ukraine government cracking down, and you also have the British police who detained Kit Clarenberg of the Gray Zone and interrogated him essentially over his political beliefs, and they reported on Ukraine. So this is just one example of the rise of the international fascism. We get to the domestic version here very soon. Jimmy, CJ, we start with Jimmy. Anything you guys want to add to this? Any concerns on?
As predicted, when Barack Obama repealed habeas corpus in the NDAA Section 1021, where he repealed the right to a speedy free trial, all they have to do is deem you a terrorist, and they can give you what they call indefinite detention, which is what they can lock you up without a real charge, and they can lock you up without a trial, which is what tyrant kings used to do.
Yes.
Which is why in 1100 they came up with fucking the habeas corpus. It's in the Magna Carta, and they repealed that now, which means that we're operating on a liberty view from somewhere around the 1100s. So, and that's why all they have to do is say that Gonzalo Lira is a terrorist, and and that's what they did to Kit Clarenberg, right? So that thing you just showed was their kind of like their warrant to interrogate him under the terrorism law, and that he was doing, computer terrorism, and this kind of what he's doing is exposing the state, and they can't have that, right? Just like when The Guardian, we covered it yesterday on my show, when The Guardian used to be a good newspaper, they actually printed WikiLeaks and Julian Assange. They actually printed, they were the ones who did that Snowden leaks. And then immediately the intelligence community infiltrated The Guardian, threatened them, made them destroy their computers on video, and a way to humiliate them, right? Because they knew that that wasn't destroying all the WikiLeaks and all that Snowden files. They knew that, but they made them do that anyways. The editors and the deputy editors of the newspaper, the intelligence community, the cops withholding the power of prosecution and jailing them and kicking them out of the country, made them destroy their own computers as a symbol to other journalists, like, you better fucking watch it. And they did. And then immediately one of the editors of The Guardian went to sit on the censorship board of the government. That was that. And so then they started feeding them fake exclusive stories from the MI6, which is their version of the CIA. And then they would just started feeding. And so then they hired Luke Harding, and now they're just mouthpieces for the intelligence community. And so I don't know what got me started on that, but that's the people don't understand. But of course, the Young Turks reported that what the Guardian says about Julian Assange, that they did that big lie that Donald Trump's campaign manager met with Julian Assange at the Ecuadorian embassy, the most photographed building in the world, and somehow I didn't have a picture of it, right? But the Young Turks still reported that is still up to date, that video on their site, and they just happened to take $20 million from biggest DNC donor. Anyway, so back to you.
Yeah, I remember Democracy Now! Also smeared Julian Assange, and they actually haven't apologized for that as well. They done good work defending Julian Assange, but they also covered the Russian asset bullshit uncritically, and that's something that they have to be held accountable for. They got to answer for that. And Jimmy, you want to chime in?
Yeah, I want to say, so what? So you really think Amy Goodman doesn't know what's going on in Ukraine?
Yeah.
But somehow fucking we do. Somehow pothead jagoff nightclub comedian who somehow I know exactly what's going on, but she's just still I don't know what's going on, and she didn't really. Russiagate and Crump and all that. And January 6th, she doesn't know the truth about fucking anything, really. What is going on with her? She won't have on Aaron Mate to debunk all the Syria bullshit she puts on her show. She stopped having Glenn Greenwald on to debunk Russiagate and every other fucking stupid thing. Isn't that amazing? And then she'll never get fired, but you know who did get fired? Tucker Carlson. Why? Because he's shitting on immigrants? No, they love it when he shits on immigrants, you fucking dummies. He got fired because he told the truth about Syria. That's why they love it when he shits on immigrants, because it divides the country and it gets us distracted from the fucking real overtake of our democracy. He got fired because he started to tell the truth about fucking empire and imperialism. And then he brought RFK Jr. on to tell the truth about how Big Pharma corrupts his own news station. And fucking that's why all the COVID narrative was the COVID narrative on the TV news, and that he was gone. That's why he got fired. You don't get fired from corporate America for lying. You don't get in trouble in politics for lying. You get in trouble in politics for telling the truth, and you get in trouble in corporate news for telling the truth. And for whatever fucking reason, Tucker Carlson decided to do really good work, and he's been doing really good work on foreign policy since the Syrian war.
Amy Goodman is very frustrating because she will have
she's good and bad.
She will have good guests on every once in a while. She will have Chris Hedges on. And she'll have people on that will explain why the Ukraine war is actually a U.S. proxy war against Russia. Like, so the thing is, she will have people on that will do a great job explaining shit. And then the next episode, she will come on without retaining any of the information. So I'm like, that's the thing that's frustrating. It's not that she don't know it. Like, she played dumb. Like, I'm like, you just talked to Chris Hedges about Ukraine. You just had Sean Skinner about Ukraine. How are you? And your criticism, Jimmy, is legit. There's guests they don't have on that they should. But I'm like, you guys dived into enough topics where you shouldn't be falling for Russiagate and January 6th anymore. But you so go ahead, Jimmy.
Yeah, I mean, they wouldn't. Aaron Mate worked for Amy Goodman for 10 years. He was a producer there, so they know who he is, and they know he won an award for his meticulous debunking of that FBI, CIA, Democratic Party psyop called Russiagate. Why didn't they have him on to debunk it? Why? They know he's doing award. He won an award for his coverage of the Syrian debunking of that bullshit Syrian gas attack and the OCPW cover-up. They know he debunked that. Why didn't she have him on for that? What the fuck? And so it's really suspect. And she's, that's why her show's been around forever. Everybody loves it. But somehow my show gets more views than hers. Isn't that weird?